Hey, my loves, I just wanted to jump on the line and have a moment of accountability with you. It's both because I feel like those of you who are really invested in me, my work, and feel like you belong to this community and really value receiving readings from me need to know what's going on, but also I think it will allow me some space to do what I need to do if I've articulated what's happening, because I feel I'm constantly connected and constantly wanting to connect, but there are things happening behind the scenes for me that I don't always communicate externally. And so this, I guess, is a Mercury moment about me just sharing a little bit more about what's happening and particularly why the YouTube readings can be very sporadic. Now, it's come up to a year since I started on YouTube, and it's been a very blessed journey for me. I had no concept of where this was going or even the gift that I have, and I know even now my gift is mostly untapped. And what happens, or what's been happening really, is that in the more recent months, my intuition has really stepped up, and my energetic source in terms of where I draw from, where I pull from in order to give these readings, I don't know if I can say it changed, but it definitely plugged in. And there was definitely times, I would say, at least from kind of February, March, where I felt I was participating in direct channeling and really feeling a very powerful, strong energy using me to speak through in order to kind of benefit you and to give you the messages that you need to heal and change your lives. And so many of you, beyond even commenting on YouTube, which I appreciate, but so many of you have sent me like personal messages really talking about how the messages that you've heard from me have helped you navigate your lives in ways that feels empowering and finding your freedom and finding your healing. And that's the only reason I really do it. So I really appreciate that. What started to happen for me though is that I was getting really burnt out. And on one level, it was about really just working a lot. There were times where I was, seeing several clients and recording several MP3 readings in a day. I'm finding it difficult to recharge and like really draining myself completely before I did. So that was something that was imbalanced that I had to bring some balance in. But beyond that, the more I was doing this work, the more strained I felt, the more it was just draining me immediately. So I could say that I got to a point where the energy that I felt, say if I did 6 back-to-back in-person readings, and in-person readings are a bit more draining for me than the video call, or I lose energy a bit faster. 6 in-person readings back to back, that level of energy drain, or I don't really like saying it's a drain, but drain has kind of a negative connotation. So let's say like the way I would spend that energy became what I would feel during one reading, even one video call reading. Like I just started to find that I have no juice, just really pulling on me. And I began to say to some of my closest friends that I just felt like my spirits were asking me to pull away from doing readings. And full disclosure, because this is my work, it's also like my income, I was reluctant to shut that down altogether because I had fears about my financial well-being and being able to provide for myself. So I was like, well, I get you, but for now this is what I do for work, so I need to keep doing this until I see another way forward, until you kind of reveal to me what the next step is. And so I was feeling this like reluctance within me, I would go up, I would, read for people, the energy would open, I'd do the reading, but I could just feel, man, I was just like, I just don't think I'm supposed to be doing this. So I took a break. And I've taken like really sporadic breaks because I haven't been understanding fully what's going on. So I took all of August off. And it wasn't even intentional. It just got to a point where I didn't have it in me to do the readings. And I was like, you know what, that's happening for a reason. In the midst of that, I've been seeking just a clearer understanding, really knowing that I've taken myself, I wrote this in one of my blogs on my website, that I've taken myself as far as I can go in terms of being self-taught. And I knew I needed a teacher and a mentor. And there was a person who I had connected with, but hadn't really formalized that kind of mentor relationship with yet. And so I feel like I've just been meandering around, kind of just navigating, trying to understand things on my own, but definitely having a huge aspect of things I wasn't understanding. So to cut a long story short, the understanding that I have now is really that, truthfully, I've been out of alignment in terms of what I've needed to do in my own spiritual practice. And I think that comes a lot from being raised Christian, and I was a zealot. I was so devout in ways that I think was really harmful to me. And so I am very mindful now about my spiritual practice. You know, I'm very observant. I keep my mind in it. Like, I'm curious, I question. I'm not gung-ho, let's say. Do you know what I mean? And particularly because I feel now, even more so than when I was a Christian, I am much more dealing with the immaterial realm, and I know that it is not all love and light across there. So I'm very cautious about what I'm opening. And I think as a result of that, I knew where I was being called to go, and I knew what I was being asked to engage with, and I was reluctant and not doing it because I just didn't feel ready to open that doorway. And so I'm using spirit energy, you know, I'm using my guides, my source, divine source, to serve you, but having a disrupted relationship with that source myself. Do you know what I mean? So only going some part of the way. And so that constant drain, that breakdown was what would happen. And it's happened to me again this month. So, you know that I put out 6 videos, and I know that the energy was really strong in all of them. And then I just couldn't do it anymore. And I had the strongest desire to do it. And, you know, it's not a work ethic issue. I'm a strong Virgo. So I could work myself into the ground if I don't stop myself. Like, it isn't around my commitment to do the work or finding time. It's nothing to do with laziness, but there becomes like an obstacle. Obstacles get put in my way. So, for example, I had like a really negative reaction. I'm reducing alcohol, trying to cut it out altogether anyway, but I had some cider and I was hungover. Like, I'd been drinking Ray and Nephew the entire bowl. Like, I felt just like I couldn't move. I felt exhausted the next day. And that was the day I was meant to do readings. And then the day after that, I had food poisoning. So I couldn't. And I was like, I know that there's a block here. I'm beyond the physical obstacles. I can feel energetically that I don't have it, but I want to. And then I get into this thing of, I owe you guys. Like, I owe you that. And there's a strong desire within me to be consistent. And I really want to put it out. But the spirit don't want me to, is the answer to that. And they don't want me to until I can get myself, really, the word is, back in alignment. They don't want me to until I go the distance I need to go spiritually to honor the ancestors and the source that I draw from when I'm doing this work. Like, I can't take and not give. And so that's where I'm at the moment. I'm in a process of really understanding what that giving looks like to me, what that connection looks like to me, healing my blocks, particularly, you know, as a Virgo, you guys know that I'm like heavy Mercury energy, and, you know, Mercury is the archetype of Elegua or Papa Legba. And, you know, I'm at the moment working through emotionally my blocks towards engaging with those archetypes, with that energy, particularly because I know that I have been wounded in terms of like male authority, particularly. So wounded in terms of my own relationship with my father, but wounded in terms of the male relationships I had in the context of the church I was in for all the years of my life, basically, like all my formative years from 7 to 21. And that therefore being a block to me opening up to that energy. So there's so much that I'm having to heal personally. And as a result, it's making my output a bit scattered. But I have to submit to that, really. I can't, it's not for show. I'm not faking this, you know, and so I can't give you what I don't have, and I can't teach you what I haven't learned, and I can't demonstrate lessons that I'm avoiding. So at this point, like I said, honouring that process. You know, today I really wanted to sit and record the rest of the reasons, but I really think, if I'm being honest with myself, that's coming from me, and that's coming from my desire, one, to serve, but my desire to, I don't like not finishing what I start. I'm that kind of person. Even if I start a film I don't like, I will kind of watch it to the end, because I'm like, well, I've started now, so I might as well see this thing through. And the part of me that wants to see things through is like, do it. I can't force this work into the schedule of my demands and my ego, really. And so I have to do the readings when I feel spiritually allowed to, like when I know spirit is with me, and today doesn't feel like I'm allowed, like today I think is I've been doing my personal work on myself, and I think that's where my attention's supposed to be. And I am very aware that I have a lot of one-to-one clients tomorrow, so I think it's about also like recharging myself in time for that, and not just spending and burning my energy out because I just feel like I need to do a particular thing. And so really, I at the moment am just subject to whenever my guides say I'm allowed to do these readings, and I'm still unsure about whether I'll be able to do the rest for the month. I really want to. I really, really want to. And I have said to them, like, I want to. So we'll see. In the meantime, I'm continuing working on my own spiritual practice, and healing my own blocks, and cultivating the relationship I have with my guides. And I'm still working with one-to-one clients. I'm allowed to do that. So I'm still doing that level of service. But in terms of my YouTube work, there's still, I think it's going to be a little bit longer before I find that balance between what's going on with me behind the scenes and what I do publicly. And so you will maybe see me sometimes, maybe not. One of the things I said in some of my YouTubes that I've recorded as well is I tend to feel the energy open up for me around the new moon. That's when I'm allowed to give those messages. So I'm still sticking with that. I still feel like the new moon cycle is when I should be putting these messages out. And I said, 4 days either side of the new moon. So really that's like a 9-day period. And that's what I'm working towards. That's the kind of plan. That's the structure that I intend to put in place. But for now, I have to be obedient on this side. And some people will be upset about that. And I don't care. I care about the people who care about me. And I know that you want me to be whole. And I know that you want me to grow in the ways I need to. And I know that you want to receive what's right for you. So I know that I already know. I don't even need to ask for it. I know that you're being patient and loving and kind around my process. And you're who I'm speaking to. And I wanted to have full disclosure because I feel like there are things that you will also be able to learn in your own process, your own spiritual growth about. For me, it's like, okay, it's literal spiritual work. For some of you, it's creativity. It's your creativity in general. It's what you want to do in the world. It's your business ideas. It could be creativity in terms of like literal having a child, birthing, and obstacles that you might be finding there, lack of clarity, can have can be rooted in things other than your motivation. Like the capitalist society always tells us that if you're not working or you're not going towards your dreams, it's because you're lazy or fearful. And some of you are really trying. Some of you are putting a lot into things and just not seeing things move in the ways that you want to. I'm really hearing what I'm saying is just another expression of saying that there is a balancing that has to happen in your inner life in order for your external life to match and to harmonize and to flow and to open. And there's so many ways that can take place. And there's so many spiritual traditions that can teach you about how to do that. But for me, I'm a Black woman, and that was intentional, and it is very integral to who I am in this world, how I move through this world. And I found some liberation in that, as in I don't feel trapped by my Black identity. I know that I am also more than that. I'm not even like, because I'm a human, but I mean, I'm more than that as a soul. I'm more than that as a spirit. I'm an incredibly powerful person, and the part of me that is a Black woman is an avatar. Do you know what I mean? Like it's how I animate myself through the world, but I'm beyond this encapsulation of Blackness. But even so, this is the vehicle that my spirit has chosen to move through the world with. And there are things that come with that. And whilst there is, the oppression of white supremacy and racialization and gender hierarchies that come with that, there's also a huge cultural, spiritual tradition that comes with that. And that's what I know in this point in my life that I'm called to engage with in ways that's empowering and safe to me and is useful to the communities I belong to. And that's where my work lies at the moment. And I think, as a daughter of the diaspora, as a Black British woman, I think it's really important that we rebuild our spiritual connections to more earth-based, more nature-based, more root work kind of spirituality. But that isn't just an overlay of whatever we think a traditional African spirituality is, So again, undoing those concepts of authenticity in the same way that we know that there's no authentic Blackness, there's no one way to be Black. I also think that through the process of the diaspora, there's really no one way to be spiritual. Now, there are ways in which you can endanger yourself, for sure. There are ways in which you can disrespect your ancestors and your spirits, for sure. But I think that there is room, once you understand the skeleton and the framework of the traditions, there's room for you to start to understand what that relationship looks like for you in 2018 in, I don't know, Atlanta or in Germany. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things matter. The geography of where you live, the energy of the space that you're in, the culture that you exist in, the systems that you're around, the businesses are around you, all these things should have some bearing on how you practice your spiritual work. Because for me, as a strong Virgo, part of that for me is about being useful and practical and being grounded. And my conscious awareness is I never want to be so spiritual that I lose connection to the space I live in, as in I become unrelatable. And I don't just mean in terms of like, oh, can I talk to you about love and hip hop, or can I talk to you about what's happening in the news? Not that kind of relatable, but I mean literally, I don't want to cease to mentally exist in the world that I've been planted in. And so that means that your spirituality should also be activated and responsive, in my opinion, to the place physically you've been rooted in. And that means the world globally, obviously, but it also means local communities and dealing with national context and thinking about what the power of your spiritual practice means in the context of where you are. So for me, as a Black British woman, as a Londoner, like, what does what I'm doing, how can it specifically serve this community and the needs that exist here in this space? So that's what's happening with me. And so, I always say on my readings that I'm a mutable sign and I'm the harbinger of change. And there are a lot of changes going on with me. I already know at some point, be stopping tarot readings for the public altogether. I'm kind of taking my time with that and just seeking more counseling and advice to see how Spirit wants me to go about doing that and what that looks like. But I see that as a goal definitely within the next 3 to 6 months. So yeah, just really watch the space, really, I guess I'm saying. Things are changing, but they're changing for the better. And some things require a pause and a reset and a step back. And I didn't want to step back midway. I would have preferred to have finished this month and then done it. But it's a lesson for me, It's a lesson for me. So I hope this resonates for you. I hope you understand, not in terms of acceptance, but understand what I'm saying, as in you comprehend it. And I know sometimes some of the signs take it personally when I don't do your reading, and I want you to know that in many ways that isn't why. It's nothing to do with like if I like a sign or not, but it can be what that sign is representing in my own life. So, last month I didn't do Gemini and Sag, I just couldn't do it. And I spoke to my friend about it, and she was like, well, when we were talking about the challenges I was experiencing, she was like, well, you're experiencing Gemini and Sagittarius, like, obstacles. Do you know what I mean? What those archetypes represent, those are the exact experiences you're struggling with in your personal life. So no wonder you're not ready to show up and talk to that energy, because you haven't negotiated that yet. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here and now. I just want you to know that I love you and I'm grateful for you, and I'm willing to work with you and to grow in community with you. Take care.